Legislatively speaking, it would probably be beneficial, and I certainly would be willing to introduce legislation that would force the tobacco companies to put a cross and skull or something, a poison sign on their packages of cigarettes, as we do with other products. Let people know, some kind of a warning that would indicate more than that little notice on the package that's there now. Let's beef up, in other words, the warning process. Let people know exactly how dangerous it is.
Okay, we're going to let Drs. Hansen and Craig take this on.
Well, I think we ought to have a ban on promotion of this addicting substances. We have an addicting
Promotion,
substance.
you mean advertising?
Advertising, promotion, tennis tournaments.
Signs in the dome.
Signs in the dome. We have in our society, we are pushing a very toxic substance. It's damaging, more damaging than all the other drug substances that we use combined. So if we don't take hold in our society, the rest of the world isn't going to, we're going to go down the tubes just like we have.
There's a specific issue I think that this gentleman had in mind, and please correct me if I'm wrong, caller, but can we go after the tobacco companies for creating a product, as in a consumer product safety measure? Can we attack those companies that have provided a harmful and injurious substance for our consumption?
There are hundreds of court cases right now testing the liability of tobacco companies.
But isn't it true that none of them have been successful so far?
If anybody watched 60 Minutes this evening, right before this program, their first segment was on this same topic, people suing the tobacco companies, and the millions of dollars that the tobacco companies spend in defending their suit. And the tobacco industry spends more money in advertising than any other industry in our country. They just have the bills behind them, the dollars that the rest of us can't afford. But I think if we have suits and more suits and more suits and people pursue, eventually one is going to win, and then it's wide open.
Okay, let's take another call here.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. I would like to know if our government is still subsidizing the tobacco industry, and if so, why?
The question is, are they still subsidizing, Representative Kahn?
The answer is yes, and the question is that that's really not a tobacco and health issue. In fact, what the subsidy does is it keeps the price of tobacco high, it keeps the amount of tobacco planted as less. It's a restriction on planting in order to get that, and it's really not an issue that the tobacco and health people ought to be involved in.
So you're
It's a
saying
complicated economic question. It's what it is that the tobacco subsidies do is that they stop farmers from growing all the tobacco they want to grow, and it keeps the price of tobacco high, and by classical market economics, it means that there's less tobacco.
So it doesn't look, it is not the double standard that a lot of people have made it out to be. It is not the paradox.
No, but one of the problems is
We
really...
have a disagreement here. Let's hear what Dr. Hansen has to say in disagreement.
The industry is high, and it creates a great profit margin. There's a huge profit margin in the tobacco product. They're pushing a consumer product, and they've great profits. The tobacco stocks are good stocks. They're going up. There's a huge profit margin. They can promote more. They have more money to promote, to advertise, to carry on. So I don't buy that argument.
Well, it's good. Look at the products that injure. Just recently, didn't the federal government ban the further production of three-wheeled vehicles because it kills people? So there's certainly a precedent for banning a particular product because of its danger to health. So I think maybe we could start thinking along those lines.
There's no positive value in tobacco.
None whatsoever.
Other substances that, if we eat too much, there's some positive value in eating. If we use alcohol, there's some calories and other positive value. It can be abused, but in tobacco, there is no positive value.
There's lots of tobacco money going into political campaign contributions.
I don't disagree with that statement. What I said is that the purpose of the tobacco subsidy, though, is to limit the amount of tobacco that's grown.
It doesn't do it.
It does.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Dr. Hanovich is saying here in the corner that the real damage is done by the message that is sent to the public that the government is involved in any sort of support of those people who grow tobacco. We're going to have to take another call. This is a sensitive issue, and we want to get some of the people on this end, the left field bleachers, involved in this concept. All right, could we have the next caller, please?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I've been smoking for about 15 years, and I've tried quitting cold turkey several times and succeeded for varying periods of time, but never completely. And I was wondering if any of the people on the panel who've quit smoking have succeeded in doing so by gradually phasing cigarettes out of their lives.
Belfiore,
Yes,
you have done the same thing.
Yes, that was a number of years ago. But what happened was I, first of all, changed jobs. I had been smoking in a hospital setting, and I changed jobs and told them that I didn't smoke, so that cut that out. And then my husband quit, and so I felt that I shouldn't smoke in front of him anymore, so then I couldn't smoke in the house, and pretty soon I got myself into a corner where I didn't have very many opportunities to smoke, and still had my neighbor up the street who I could run to and bum cigarettes and all. But eventually, I did very slowly taper off. It is true that most people do succeed only when they go cold turkey. But then there's some of us, and we're all individuals, we're all different, who can very slowly, you know, in blocks, like I did, phase it out of their lives. It's probably not the best thing to do, but it does work for some people.
Okay. Ms. O'Connell, you have an opinion on this as a smoking cessation specialist?
I think it's important for people to remember that even cutting down is a measure of success. Sometimes people tend to look at it as, you know, success or failure, and for the people in the documentary or the people in the public, if they do try and they cut down, maybe next time it's going to be a little bit easier and they're going to be able to quit. Any move in the right direction is certainly going to be an improvement.
Yes.
I'd like to comment about the concept of cold turkey, and I think one of the things that's very confusing about cold turkey, I do lots of smoking cessation classes, and whenever we ask, how long have you been thinking about the issue of quitting smoking? 5 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 5 years? If all of us think back to our own quitting experience, I must say, even though I was a health practitioner and smoking in a hospital setting, I had been thinking of quitting for at least 4 to 6 years before I actually quit 13 years ago. So the concept of cold turkey kind of gets negated because there is no cold turkey. The cold turkey I preach is the last cigarette you smoke, because many of us are getting ready for it in our heads before we ever deal with the issue.
Elaine?
Okay.
Yeah, I think she mentioned a very interesting point, is that preparation standpoint. People do prepare to quit, and they need to do it over a period of time. Some people it takes a matter of weeks, some people it takes a matter of years. You saw some of the people in the documentary. The wife of the respiratory therapist, I believe, she just did not want to quit, and they got into that argument, and you wonder how their relationship was affected by that. We even laughed about that while we were watching it.
I wonder if they're laughing.
I don't know if they're laughing right now, but I think what people need to realize is that they do need to prepare, but to have an open mind, and it might take a couple of times. It might not take 60 times, but it might take multiple quit attempts, and that's what's important.
Thank you very much. And we're going to get to more of the three of you on the end there in your outreach programs, the people who actually go out and let us know what is good and bad, or not necessarily bad, but what is good and what is coming in a program of no smoking. We'll get to you just after these messages.
Kathy Durham looks cool under pressure, but just because her blouse is dry doesn't mean she smells good. Because underarm odor is invisible, she needs Sure Roll-On. Sure helps protect against wetness and kills bacteria that cause odor. So Kathy, why go to school with a dry blouse and a false sense of security? Tomorrow, use Sure Roll-On and be just as sure about odor as you are about wetness.
Thanks.
No wonder cowboys are a dying breed. If you need help quitting, tune into Project Quit and take control of your life.
Starting a week from tomorrow, on Monday, January 11th, Channel 4 will broadcast a series of 5 programs to help those who want to quit smoking quit, or help you be a buddy to someone who wants to quit. 5 half-hour shows featuring the same kind of professional advice for which you might otherwise pay about $150 or more. And we're going to air the clinics on TV in prime time. The first day, that will be at 8:30 p.m., then twice daily during the lunch hour at 12:30, then at 10:35 right after the 10 p.m. reports, with repeats coming up on WCCO 2 cable. WCCO Radio will be doing its own version of these kinds of clinics, too, some mornings and each evening during the week of January 11th. Now, Pat Miles and I will host the TV shows, and more often than not, Jim Rogers will be your host on radio. Jim, welcome. And smoking has been a part of your life. It is no longer a part of your life.
I hope not.
Yeah?
But it was for a long time. It was for a long time.
It was a struggle.
Yeah, of course it was. But I think I'm off. There have been relapses, and I'm the first to admit I can identify with the people in the documentary who felt ashamed and frustrated and angry with themselves. With a little luck, I think I'm okay.
Did you ever work in a place where someone came down and said, you can't smoke in here anymore?
No, Don, I really didn't. But on the other hand, there has been a kind of evolution. And working in a studio, as you know, you're working in a kind of confined area. And there was once a time when you went to work and you put an ashtray on the counter and you lit up and you smoked. Then you start doing guests and people come in to do your show, and more than one person, 2 and 3. And sometimes one of them would want to smoke. But it serves to tell you that it isn't okay necessarily for you to be smoking and blowing smoke at somebody who's a guest on your show. And what I'm saying is, over the years, I quit smoking in the studio under most circumstances simply because it wasn't convenient, it wasn't polite, it also wasn't very smart, and I just sort of stopped doing it.
Okay. Now, right here in the front row, we have a bunch of people who are going to be part of our Project Quit clinics, people who are experiencing the quitting phenomenon. We have someone who is 10 months old now, Ms. Wilson, is that true?
That's right.
You quit smoking 10 months ago, and you'll be telling us what in Project Quit clinics?
I'll be telling you basically what I went through. It was hell.
Yeah?
I'll tell you that. But it can be done. It can certainly be done.
How much did you smoke?
Oh, 2 packs a day. And if I played cards at night, sometimes up to 2.5 to 3 packs.
Did you go through a program? Did you use just your own willpower?
I went through a program.
Okay.
I went to the Smoke Stoppers Clinic. And the support was phenomenal. In fact, I don't think I could have done it if I did not have that support.
Okay.
It was rough, but I would advise anybody who smokes to quit.
Vern Dockery, you from the Metropolitan Mount Sinai Medical Centers. Now, what can you add to the Project Quit clinics? What do you know about this?
Well, that if you want to quit, you can. That's the main thing, making that decision. And for me, the decision I had to make was I could not do it alone. So I joined the Smoke Stopper program. I had tried to quit before, and you always thought, well, I'll get the first hour, I'll get the second hour. Whoops, I did make the 3rd hour. I'll try again tomorrow. I'll put it off till next week. And I guess it really hit me when one of my sons said, do you know every cigarette is 3 minutes off your life? And I realized I was up to 3 packs a day, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to find out how many years you're taking off your life.
Now, seated next to you, Mr. Marzalek, you also have quit, and,
Sir.
and you think that, and thank goodness you may stay quit. Is that your feeling?
I don't have any doubts that I won't. I had to. There was an underlying cause for me to quit smoking. There's a illness or a condition that precludes cancer of the mouth, and it's called leukoplakia. And what it is, it's white, scaly substances on the inside of your cheeks, and it can, what it does, it collects on your larynx, where it causes a gravelly voice that smokers have. And I had the beginning stages of it. So for me, it wasn't that hard. I knew I had to.
But you still went through a program?
Yes. I knew I
Had you
needed
tried to quit before?
Oh, plenty of times. I'd get really bad colds. Once, 2, 3 times a year, you know, and just with a horrendous cough. And I'd have to have a cigarette to calm me down, you know, that kind of deal.
But what did an organized program, a clinic, do for you that you couldn't do by yourself?
Well, it made me realize the things that I already knew. It gave me the support. It gave me the support, too. And just made it a lot easier.
Okay. Dee, right next to Bill there, you apparently had some concerns about what effects not smoking would have on you physically.
Yeah, I was tired of the smell, and I would cough up, phlegm and stuff, and I just really got sick of it. So I had to quit.
You know, there's a lot of people talk about being afraid of smoking or quitting smoking because that they might gain weight. Were you fearful that you would gain weight?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I did, too.
Did
It's
you?
like, I quit cigarettes, so anything that, was edible, it was going in my mouth, and I said enough of this, and the first time I had quit, I went back to smoking because I was tired of the weight gain. And then I felt so guilty after starting to smoke again that I quit 3 years ago, and I haven't had any since, and there's no way I would ever go back to it.
Would a lot of people agree that people hear that most as an excuse why they don't want to quit, that they're going to gain weight and get fat? Cynthia Trank, you're a nutritionist, you're in the cessation programs. Do people get fat after they stop smoking, as a general rule?
Usually a third of the people will gain like 5 pounds, a third of the people will lose 5 pounds, and a third of the people will stay the same. And so weight gain usually isn't a problem if you watch what you eat. The reason why people will crave tons and tons of sugar and want to do substitution, for one thing, they're orally wanting to gratify something, and for another thing, nicotine causes an upsurge in your sugar inside your body, and so you can substitute the urge for cigarettes with sugar. And so a lot of people will end up gravity feeding on sugary foods. And so you have to avoid sugar, and you can be a whole lot healthier and happier too.
Ruth Holleran, you're going to be helping us put these clinics on. If someone is at home watching this thing and says, no, I tried to quit before and I just got big as a house, and I'm just not going to try it again because it's too embarrassing and you have to buy a whole new wardrobe, what do you tell them?
You don't have to gain weight, but you have to do some other things to help with this oral urge. You have to probably drink a lot of water for a while. You have to be conscious of what you're eating, make choices to eat healthier foods, lots of fruits and vegetables in the food. And I would say to people, I think you have to start exercising. I lost 26 pounds when I quit smoking. It was amazing to me, but I started an exercise program at the same time.
Wait a minute, you lost 26 pounds? You mean you had 26 pounds while you were smoking? You lost those. You didn't gain 26 and lose them back.
But I started exercising. I started 20 minutes a day of a brisk walk, a little bit of a jog, and it was wonderful. It helped me manage stress in my life, too. It had so many positive benefits for me, beginning to exercise.
Okay, now I want to carry this down. Mike Maley, you're down here, and
Well, I just think an important statistic to point out here is that a one-day pack smoker would have to gain 50 pounds to put the same amount of stress in their heart as smoking 1 pack a day, so there's a lot of room for growth there, you might say.
And I've heard that figure even be as high as 80 pounds in excess over ideal weight to equate the risk factor of smoking. And I want to mention, to add to the comment down there, that in teaching adult smoking cessation classes, by far, I think the most successful people I have seen are those who simultaneously began some other type of behavior change program. Most of the time, it was some type of exercise program, and not even so much organized as much as just taking that rapid walk around the block when that urge hits. So starting out small and gradually replacing the exercise with smoking.
Yeah, I just had a friend that quit smoking in September and has lost 52 pounds since then because he went on an exercise program of running 30 minutes a day, because otherwise he said he'd just go nuts.
And everyone thinks they're going to gain 30, 40, 50 pounds. Actually, the research shows that the average weight gain is only 8 pounds. And so, you know, you can say, okay, next year we handle the 8 pounds. It doesn't have to be 30, 40, 50 pounds.
In some ways, I want to remind everyone that these clinics that we're talking about began on January 11th. January 11th, Project Quit clinics. 5 of them here on WCCO television, starting on the 11th at 8:30 to 9, then a rebroadcast at 10:35 to 11:05. The 1/2 hour in length, 5 of them, same way as if you were to go to a number of these cessation clinics. We'll be back to do some more talking about this project with these people in just a moment.
Morning, sir. That was some New Year's party you threw.
Gerald, the sale price on this wash is much too low.
Don't you remember the New Year's party? You said, thanks to you, Highland's New Year's sale would go down in history.
So I lowered the price on this washer?
Actually, sir, you lowered the prices of all these appliances.
Oh, no.
And the stereos, and those tape recorders, and those receivers.
Who are they?
Don't you remember? You hired them at the party.
Why didn't Mr. Ewing stop me?
He tried. You fired him.
What else did I do?
Well, you knocked down the price on this GE programmable VHS video recorder with wireless remote to just $228. And you put this portable compact disc player with AM/FM stereo on sale for just $95.
What have I done?
Don't worry, sir. It's only for a few days. Besides, everyone's probably too wiped out from New Year's to come.
You really think so?
Sure.
The Highland Superstore's New Year's sale, Saturday through Wednesday, January 6th.
We're back with our town meeting on smoking and tobacco-related issues. Let's take some more phone calls from the folks at home. Do we have a caller?
Yes. Is WCCO smoke-free? And if not, I'm wondering what your smoking policy is for employees.
All right, well, we're going to ask Mr. Ron Hanberg, General Manager of WCCO TV, to respond to that.
Somehow I knew that would come up.
Did you? You thought that was coming?
The answer to the question is the CCO television is not yet smoke-free. We are in the process now of surveying employees, I think, to find out what the mood among employees is for the extent of totally smoke-free, something short of that. There are areas of the building that are supposed to be smoke-free, the technical areas, close quarters. But we're in the process and trying to arrive, hopefully within a matter of weeks, at a decision in large measure prompted by Project Quit and the whole station's involvement in this.
Okay, and I'd like to go right next to you, Ron, to Andrew Chakowski, CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield. You could tell him, I think, what he has to face here in the coming months, because didn't you just go smoke-free January 1?
As of tomorrow, we will be smoke-free, and I'm not sure exactly what all the repercussions are going to be, but we have moved into it in a very gradual way by going into limited areas and now smoke-free January 2nd. And I have to say that it's been supported by almost all of our employees. There are always a few, naturally, who may be opposed, but we expect it to be very successful. And I think, from what we've heard, a number of people do plan to quit smoking as a result of this. And I'd be interested in hearing what some of the other people here would say about to what extent an employer's action of eliminating smoking in the workplace has on decision of people to quit smoking. Maybe some of the experts would want to comment on that.
We have some people here who might be able to answer that question. Right. Before we do, I'd like to take another phone call from someone who has something they'd like to have answered. Yes, sir. Or ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yes. I would like to know why, if it is so addictive, why insurance companies do not pay for any type of treatment where they will pay for alcoholism or any other type of drug treatment.
Would you like to take that, Mr. Chakowski?
Yeah. I think that many employers are paying, first of all, for smoking cessation. We do, and I think a number of others do. However, it isn't something that's covered under a normal health policy. We do offer a discount to people who don't smoke. So there is an incentive for people who are non-smokers to purchase coverage at a discount. And so that people who are smokers do pay an extra charge. The cost of smoking is estimated at something like $50 billion a year, so there's a tremendous cost to the healthcare system. And I think encouraging people to not smoke is something that we want to do, and we do through promotion and other things. We're very supportive of a lot of different programs to stop smoking. So that's been our approach.
We'll have, Stuart Hansen.
One of the things, we have not accepted this as a disease yet, smoking as a disease, but we, just as much as alcoholism 25 and 30 years ago was accepted as a disease, we need to now think of this as a disease and treat it as such. And then I think our healthcare insurance companies and industry will begin to address this as we treat other diseases.
Is it possible that that's going to happen anytime soon, since there's already a move afoot to change the allocation, or rather the designation of alcoholism as a disease?
I think here in Minnesota, we're looking to promote that. And I think we're in a position of being able to encourage that on a national level. And if we do that, we will be much more successful in cessation and also preventing startups.
Ruth, though, didn't you tell us in one of the programs that insurance does pay for a portion of the program?
PHP, for example, reimburses most of the cost of our program.
All right.
I think it's important, however, to note that the insurance companies certainly pay for the effects of smoking. They pay for the treatment of the cancer and the emphysema and these and the heart disease. And it certainly would be prudent to, as soon as possible, get into prevention and paying for the smoking cessation programs.
Thank you. We're going to take another call. Are you there, caller?
Yes, Don?
Yes.
Thank you.
You bet.
My question focuses on what might we do as far as preventing young people from beginning to smoke. I'm talking about programs that reach high school, junior high, and even elementary age children. And what is being done in the high schools as far as smoke-free environments? Do high schools permit students to smoke? If so, isn't that just giving an okay to smoke? What is being done in those educational facilities?
All right. All right. We have someone chomping at the bit here. Dr. Craig, you go ahead and start on that.
Gretchen should be answering this also.
Yes, we'll get to Gretchen in this phone
Children that
call.
are starting kindergarten this year will be graduating in the smoke-free year of 2000. So we're emphasizing a program starting with these children in kindergarten, and it will carry through and follow them through all of their years. Yes, there's a lot being done in the schools, but the important thing is to get some teeth in our regulations that does not allow smoking in schools, and this starts with the staff and with the teachers.
All right, and we have some very interesting people in the top row of the bleachers here to talk about that. We'll be back, continue the discussion on smoking and schools and youngsters, where the real issue may lie at this point in our time. We'll be back in just a moment.
A foreign power has invaded the Midwest. Silently, it has infiltrated every aspect of our lives. This foreign power, electricity from Canada. NSP buys this electricity when it's cheaper than producing it here to save you money. Creative energy, NSP.
Coming up this weekend Newsday, we'll give you plenty to think about and argue over. We'll examine an essay by a St. Paul man that says pornography is addictive and harmful to men and eventually self-destructive. We'll talk about the problems caused by older drivers on Minnesota roads and look at a plan to improve their driving skills. And on the anniversary of Elvis Presley's birthday, we'll talk to an Elvis impersonator who's even had surgery to look more like the king. Join us on Newsday each day at 4:30.
We're talking about smoking, particularly what happens when smoking is banned in the workplace, or for that matter, in the schoolhouse. Clearly, it is tough on folks or students who have to change their ways. We've got a number of people with us today to talk about that, and we have had a conversation, including some calls from you at home, which have helped us get to the bottom of these issues. We want to stay right now with the issue of education. I'd like to start with you, who started at the age of 15, Eloise Dolan Kaplan, to talk about school-based or school-age or young person-based smoking.
Well, I started smoking when I was 15, as you said, Don. I started smoking, blowing smoke out the bathroom window, like so many of my friends, trying to look older. At that time, we would go outside the high school after lunch and walk along the fence. I think that there was a particular number of feet that one had to be away from the school in order to be able to smoke. I don't remember. Anyway, and we would smoke that way. And then, of course, through college, I smoked, and through my young adulthood. And then, when I decided to quit, it took me about 12 tries. I really tried a lot of things. I tried hypnosis. I went cold turkey, and then cold turkey, and then cold turkey, cut down, postponed, tried any number of things.
Can you guess whether a program in school might have helped you focus on your smoking and help you stop?
I'm not sure that I would have been available to it at that time, because for me it was part of the image. I really thought I looked older and glamorous. And of course I don't want to look older anymore.
All right. Now we're going down to Gretchen Griffin, and she is a smoking or tobacco use specialist with the Department of Education. Thank you very much for being here. You must know a great deal about this particular subject.
Well, I talk about it a lot with kids and teachers all around the state, and I'd like to respond to the caller's question about what's happening in the schools in terms of can we be effective with preventing smoking among young people, and the answer is a very resounding yes. We can be successful in preventing smoking with young people, and schools throughout the state are doing two, I think, very exciting things, taking two different approaches. One is putting programs into place with kids at critical ages, and that critical age is prior to their early experimentation with smoking. And we have good solid research that says if you hit kids with strong prevention programs between the ages of about 12 and 14, and if the messages you give them have to do more with the social effects of smoking and the immediate effects and the fact that there are many, many benefits, even at the age of 12, to being a non-smoker, that those sorts of approaches can be very effective. The other thing that you need to do with those messages is give kids the skills to refuse the offer of tobacco when it comes from their friends, because smoking is essentially a social phenomena. The other exciting thing that's happening with schools is that we have approximately 200 districts throughout the state that have gone completely smoke-free, meaning for students, staff, and community members, and that's very exciting.
Okay, and I want to go just down to Dr. Weinberg. You're in a position to see this and also to tout the benefits of no smoking in the school system, but isn't it true that young people are taking up the habit of smoking ever more quickly than they did before, that there is no dip in that use?
Well, we clearly see that probably 1 out of every 5 students leaves the high school setting as a smoker. And of course, the trends are going downward. I just need to reiterate what Gretchen said, though, too, is teaching those students the refusal skills seems to be a very appropriate way of dealing in a very effective way with preventing smoking.
But do you agree that, or I don't know if this is an agreement that I'm asking for, but do you see it working? Do you see the programs that the schools have implemented working?
Yes, a couple of programs that I've seen in the Twin Cities area as well as in outstate deal on an offshoot of what Gretchen made reference to, and that's dealing with the immediate and short-term effects of cigarette smoking rather than those long-term health consequences of smoking that I think back a number of years ago in the schools we used to try to scare the kids, show them the black lungs and so on. Now we have carbon monoxide laboratories and all sorts of biomeasurement programs that seem to be showing great promise in terms of preventing our young people.
Right in between the two of you is Kathy Hardy. Now, you just heard Eloise say that probably at that age she wouldn't have been available to the kind of program these people are talking about. How do you intend to reach these young people?
Well, we intend to reach them, and we already are, by talking about social consequences. And I thought about it when Kay was talking about the fact that she began smoking because of social influences around her. She thought it was the acceptable thing to do. And we're trying to make smoking be not the acceptable thing to do. We want to tell kids that not everybody does it. They overestimate by 50 to 70% how many of their peers and their parents and people their parents' age actually smoke. We also let them know that it's going to cost money, that it's addicting. Two things that really impact on kids. Boys respond to the money issue, girls to the addiction issue, and also that you're going to have smelly clothes and smelly breath. Those are things that we have found through absolute research really impact on kids.
We see that kind of advertising now. Kiss a smoker or kiss a non-smoker and taste the difference. How many people have teenagers who are struggling with the issue of smoking now? You have any of them here? When you carry the thing out, let's go back to this end of the room. We've got Mr. Huttner, Mr. Epstein, Ms. Schneider here to talk about going out in the community and trying to sell one of these programs, the idea of not smoking, to both communities and businesses. Would you start on how you do that and what you learn, please?
A couple of things. As you've talked and as the people from the education department have talked, principles in adult education are not going to be a lot different. It's a habit. You learn to smoke. Maybe you started because it looked good and it became a habit. You're going to have some help with that habit and getting that habit changed. So our role is to go out and talk with community about how can we help you change your habit. Eating was another habit you picked up. Will hopefully help you find a better habit than eating and putting on the weight. The people in the documentary were working very hard to do it on their own. There is an easier way.
I think one of the things we should talk about, Diane, is maybe a community readiness. We've noticed here that there's only 2 smokers here tonight, but in a community, you have to find out in individual communities, what do they feel about smoking? You know, is it 50% of the population smoking, or is it 70% non-smoking like the rest of the U.S. population? And are they willing to speak out in favor of non-smoking schools, non-smoking work sites, non-smoking hockey arenas or anything like that? And you'll find that there is support out there, and that working with community, whether it be the city government or businesses or the school districts, is very interesting. You find out that there's probably more support than most people realize.
Mr. Epstein?
I'd like to add that I think that most of us that are concerned about helping communities become more smoke-free are also quite concerned about the smokers themselves, and we certainly don't want to put extreme pressure on smokers. I think that it's important for smokers to try to utilize any guilt and bad feelings and pressure they feel from society in a helpful way, so that they turn that into a positive energy that can help them quit. There is a lot of pressure on smokers these days, and I think that often brings our programs to their attention. But in those programs, we certainly stay away from shaming and making those smokers feel guilty for this habit. It's important to think positively about quitting.
All right, I want to go to Mike back here. We've been talking this language, smoke-free, and we're using it quite freely. You actually have some very serious plans. You and your organization have plans to have this whole thing wiped out by the year 2000. Is that possible?
Right, yeah.
Is that possible?
We're the Great White Knights, I guess. No, not really. We're working with, this whole community effort that Patrick and a number of others have been talking about as far as the state of Minnesota and generating that environment where there's a great amount of involvement and interest in this whole issue of becoming a smoke-free society. And I think what we've been talking about is the schools and hospitals that Judy works with a lot, et cetera, employers like Blue Cross Blue Shield, American Cancer Society, et cetera, all of those organizations getting on the bandwagon and realizing, yeah, there is a real benefit to going smoke-free, and there's a lot more support out there as far as a community-wide effort towards going smoke-free as a total state. And I think a lot of things that we've done, not only with Representative Kahn and McDonald, et cetera, as far as legislation, but the whole environmental change that's taking place in the state of Minnesota is very positive. We're going to be one of the first states, possibly, at least to the issue where it's gone now with the Metrodome issue, as far as advertisement in one of the major sports arenas in this state, and that's one of the first to take it on, that whole issue. And I think that's what we really have to get to. I think listening to what Howard had to say, advertisement in this country is so well done by the tobacco companies. From the time that you're going to your first candy store and pick up your first package of candy cigarettes or whatever it may be, to the time that you see your first advertisement on TV and read your first newspaper article. It's there all the time. And I have a real empathy for smokers who are trying to quit because they're inundated with it in our society. When you go outside WCCO, you'll see it everywhere tonight.
We've got to stop you there, Mike. We've got to stop right there. We've got to go to a break. But we can talk and talk and talk about this, and we will continue throughout the rest of this project. We'll be back with more discussion right after this.
You know, Dairy Queen's been making great hamburgers for years, and they keep making them better and better. Take the DQ Bacon Cheeseburger. They start with a juicy DQ home-style patty, then top it off with melted cheese and bacon. The DQ Bacon Cheeseburger, now only 99 cents at Dairy Queen. Looks like they've topped themselves again. We treat you right.
Did you know you can get more Bears on the line here than in Chicago? Because NSP electric rates are 37% less. You can light more bright lights here than Hollywood. Because our electricity costs 17% less. And you can do more business here for less than even Wall Street. Because NSP electric rates are among the lowest in the country. And isn't this a good place to be? Creative energy, NSP.
Tonight is only the beginning of Project Quit. All this coming week, there will be items about smoking on the 10 p.m. news and the documentary Where There's Smoke will be repeated at 11 p.m. next Sunday, January 10th, for those who missed it or just want to see it again. The 5 Quit Smoking broadcast will run twice a day, starting 1 week from tomorrow at 8:30, then again at 10:35, Monday, January 11th. Quit Day is Tuesday, January 12th, and at noon in the IDS Crystal Court and in Town Square's Fountain Court in St. Paul, WCCO radio and TV personalities will be signing up those who will commit to quit, and there will be free quit kits, posters, buttons, and a free flower, courtesy of Bachman's, to each person who pledges to quit or be a buddy to someone who's quitting or someone who throws away their smoking materials. We know that 9 of every 10 smokers really do want to quit. Now, at the start of the new year, it is a great time to try or try again to take better control of your own life, and we're here to help this time around. That's what Project Quit is all about. Please join us in the weeks ahead. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
The preceding program has been brought to you in part by Northern States Power Company.
Coming up on tonight's 10 p.m. report, the Vikings continue their Super Bowl quest following today's surprise win over New Orleans.
The victory has renewed the interest of some fallen-away fans. We'll hear from them.
And another record has taken a tumble. This one is Child's Play.
Those are just some of the stories coming up on tonight's 10 p.m.